And no failures allowed, my aunt texted me the night before our family reunion. She had no idea the hotel hosting it, the city's most exclusive property, had my name on the deed. By the end of that evening, security would escort them out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If you've ever been the family disappointment, the one they whisper about at gatherings, this story might feel familiar. Stay until the end. I promise you'll see why walking away from toxic people isn't cruelty, it's survival. And if this resonates, hit subscribe. I share stories like this every week for anyone who's had to rebuild after their family gave up on them. My name is Emma Chen, and for 32 years, I've been the mistake my family tried to forget. Let me take you back. Back to the moment I realised I'd never be enough for them. It was graduation day, May 2015. I'd just earned my bachelor's degree in hospitality management, graduating summa cum laude from one of the top programs in the country. I'd worked 2 jobs to pay my way through school, slept 4 hours a night for 4 years, and finally, I'd done something I thought would make them proud. The auditorium was packed, families everywhere, holding balloons and flowers, cameras ready. I'd reserved 3 seats in the family section, Mom, Dad, and my older sister Emily. I'd sent them the date 6 months in advance, reminded them every week, texted the morning of with the seat numbers. They never showed. I kept checking my phone during the ceremony. Maybe they were running late, maybe traffic, maybe parking was difficult. The graduate next to me kept glancing over, probably wondering why I looked so anxious while everyone else beamed with joy. When they called my name, I walked across that stage to dead silence from my section. No cheers, no applause from my row, just 3 empty chairs staring back at me like a void. I found out later, much later, after I'd driven home alone, still in my cap and gown, mascara streaked down my face, that they'd been at Emily's hospital that day. She was finishing her surgical residency in cardiology, and she'd had an important presentation for the attending physicians. Dad texted me around 9 p.m. "Sorry we missed it, Em. Emily's presentation went great. Very proud of her." No apology, no explanation, just pride for the daughter who'd followed the path they'd paved. See, in the Chen family, there was only one acceptable career: medicine. My parents were both doctors, Dad a neurosurgeon, Mum an oncologist. They'd built a pristine reputation in our community, the Chen family legacy. Emily had fallen in line perfectly, and my younger brother Daniel was already in his 2nd year of medical school. Then there was me, the hospitality major, the one who wanted to work in hotels instead of hospitals. The one who, at Thanksgiving dinner when I was 19, announced I'd changed my major from pre-med to hospitality management. I still remember the silence that followed. My mum set down her fork, the clink echoing in the dining room. Dad didn't even look at me. He just said, "We'll discuss this later," and continued carving the turkey. We never did discuss it. They just stopped asking about school, stopped asking about my life entirely. But that graduation day was supposed to be different. I thought, maybe if I excelled, maybe if I proved I could succeed in my field, the way Emily succeeded in hers, they'd see me, really see me. They didn't. 6 years later, Christmas 2021, I decided to give them another chance. I'd been working my way up in the hospitality industry, landing a position as assistant manager at a major hotel chain. I wasn't making doctor money, but I was doing okay. I was proud of myself, even if they weren't. I drove 3 hours to their house in the suburbs, a gift bag full of carefully chosen presents on my passenger seat. I'd made a photo album for Mom, all our family photos from when I was little, back when she used to smile at me. For Dad, a first edition of his favourite novel that I'd hunted down at an antique bookshop. For Emily and Daniel, thoughtful gifts related to their specialties. I pulled up to the house at 6 p.m, exactly when dinner was supposed to start. The driveway was full. Both my parents' cars, Emily's Lexus, Daniel's Honda, and 2 other vehicles I didn't recognise. The whole family was there. I grabbed my gifts and walked to the front door, my heart actually racing with something that felt like hope. Pathetic, right? At 27 years old, still hoping my family would want me at Christmas. I reached for the doorbell, then heard it. Laughter, lots of it. Through the window, I could see everyone gathered in the living room. The fireplace was going, garland everywhere, champagne glasses catching the light. Then I heard my Aunt Linda's voice, loud and clear through the door. "Thank God Emma's not coming. We don't need that energy around the kids." I froze. Someone else, I think it was my cousin, laughed and said, "Is she still doing that hotel thing?" More laughter, my mother's voice, quieter but audible. "Let's just enjoy tonight." Not a defence, not a, "That's my daughter you're talking about." Just, "Let's enjoy tonight without her." I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, gift bag still in my hand, before I turned around. I walked back to my car, put the gifts in the trunk, and drove 3 hours back to my 400 square foot apartment. I didn't cry until I got home. Then I cried all night. That was the moment I realised something crucial. They didn't see me as a failure. They saw me as failure. My entire existence was an embarrassment to them, not because of anything I'd done wrong, but because I'd chosen a different path. The next morning I blocked their numbers, not out of anger, really, out of exhaustion. I was tired of hoping, tired of trying to earn love that was clearly never available to me. I kept one line of communication open, a family group chat, in case of emergencies. But I stopped calling, stopped visiting, stopped trying. And you know what? They never reached out to ask why. 3 years passed. 3 years of silence from my family, except for the occasional group text about logistical things. Dad's having surgery on his knee. Successful, he's fine. Daniel passed his boards. Emily's getting married. That last one stung. Emily was getting engaged, and I found out via group text. No personal call, no invitation to celebrate. The wedding was set for June. I waited for my invitation, waited for someone to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, I should be there for my sister's wedding. A month before the date, Mum called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, her voice careful. "I wanted to call about Emily's wedding." Finally, an invitation, an olive branch. "Emily thinks it's better if you don't come," Mum continued. "She doesn't want any distractions. You understand, right? It's her special day." I didn't understand. I didn't understand how my mere presence could be a distraction, but I said, "Okay." "Thank you for being mature about this," Mum said, like I'd done her a favour. Then she hung up. I didn't cry that time. I was past crying. I just sat in my apartment, a bigger one now, 800 square feet, that I'd earned through promotions and hard work. And I made a decision. I was done, completely done. They could have their perfect family narrative without me. I'd build my own life, my own definition of success, my own family if it came to that. The day of Emily's wedding, I blocked their social media accounts. I didn't want to see the photos, didn't want to torture myself with images of the family I wasn't allowed to be part of. But my friend Jade, the one person who knew the whole story, sent me a screenshot anyway. It was a photo Mum had posted. Emily in her white dress, surrounded by family, everyone in formal wear, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "My beautiful daughter and her perfect day surrounded by family." I looked at that photo for a long time, counted the people in it. 23 family members, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. 23 people, and not one of them had thought to say, "Hey, where's Emma?" I commented on the post. Just 2 words. "Congratulations, Emily." The comment was deleted within 10 minutes. That's when I knew I'd made the right choice in walking away. You can't miss someone who was never really there in the first place. A few weeks after Emily's wedding, my grandfather passed away. He was 91, had lived a full life, and I'd always been close to him, or as close as the family allowed. He was the one person who'd never made me feel like a disappointment. When I was little, he used to tell me, "Emma, success isn't what others see. It's what you build when no one's watching." I found out about his death from the family group chat. No personal call, just, "Grandpa passed this morning. Funeral is Friday at 2 p.m. Riverside Chapel." I debated not going. Why subject myself to a room full of people who'd made it clear I wasn't wanted? But this was for Grandpa, not for them. I arrived at the funeral home exactly on time, dressed in a black dress and heels, my hair pulled back, professional, composed. I'd learned to armour myself in professionalism. It was the one thing I could control. The moment I walked in, I felt the shift. Conversations paused, eyes tracked me. I'd become the ghost at the feast, the reminder of their collective rejection. I approached the sign-in book, and Aunt Linda materialised beside me. "Emma," she said, her voice syrupy. "Honey, maybe it's best if you sit in the back. The immediate family is in the front row." I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd laughed about my absence at Christmas, who'd called me an embarrassment at family dinners I wasn't invited to, who'd decided that my career choice made me less than. "I am immediate family," I said quietly. "I'm his granddaughter." "Well, yes, but," she glanced toward the front where my parents sat, "it might be more comfortable for everyone if you just, kept a low profile." I didn't argue. I just walked to the back row and sat down. From there, I watched my family fill the front rows, watched them hug each other, cry together, comfort each other. Not one person turned around to look at me. During the service, Emily gave a eulogy about how Grandpa had inspired her to become a doctor. Daniel talked about Grandpa's wisdom and guidance. My parents spoke about his legacy and pride in his family. No one mentioned me, not once, as if I hadn't existed in Grandpa's life at all. After the burial, there was a reception at my parents' house. I almost didn't go, but something pulled me there. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that I could survive it. Maybe I was still pathetically hoping someone would see me. I lasted 15 minutes. 15 minutes of standing alone in a corner while my family laughed and reminisced. 15 minutes of being invisible in a room full of people I'd known my entire life. I left without saying goodbye. No one noticed. 2 weeks later, the family group chat lit up again. Aunt Linda had posted, "Family reunion at the Sterling Heights Hotel, October 12th. Adults only. Let's make it classy." The Sterling Heights, the most exclusive hotel in the city, 5-star luxury, celebrity clientele, the kind of place that charges $800 a night for a standard room. Emily responded immediately, "Can't wait! Finally a proper family celebration." Daniel, "I'm in, should be a great night." Others chimed in with enthusiasm. 20 messages in 10 minutes, everyone excited about this fancy reunion. I typed out a message. "I'll be there." Sent. I watched the little scene receipts pop up under my message. One by one, 15 people read my text. 0 responses. The chat continued as if I'd never said anything. They discussed dress codes, whether to do a family photo, what time to arrive. My message just sat there, acknowledged but ignored. I shouldn't have been surprised, but somehow it still stung. The days leading up to the reunion were strange. I went through my work routine. I was running a consulting firm now, advising hotels on operations and guest experience. But my mind kept drifting to October 12th. Part of me wanted to not care, to let them have their reunion without me, just like they'd had every other major event. But another part of me, a stubborn part, wanted to show up, wanted to walk into that ballroom and force them to acknowledge my existence. Then, the night before the reunion, my phone buzzed at 10:47 p.m. A text from Aunt Linda. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. "Emma, I need to be direct. This reunion is for successful family members who've made us proud. No failures allowed. It's nothing personal. We just want to keep things positive. Hope you understand." I read it 3 times. Each time a different emotion surfaced. First, shock, then pain. Finally, something cold and sharp settled in my chest. No failures allowed. They'd finally said it out loud. The thing they'd been communicating through actions for years. I was a failure in their eyes, and failures weren't welcome at the family table. I took a screenshot of the message. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called Jade. She answered on the second ring, voice groggy. "Emma? It's almost 11. You okay?" "I need a favour for tomorrow night," I said. Jade was my best friend from my hotel days, back when I was working front desk shifts for barely above minimum wage. We'd bonded over difficult guests and dreams of running our own properties someday. She'd climbed the corporate ladder like me, and now she was the general manager of one of the most prestigious hotels in the city, the Sterling Heights Hotel. "What kind of favour?" she asked, more alert now. "My family's having their reunion at your hotel tomorrow, and they just uninvited me via text because I'm apparently a failure who'll bring down the vibe." Silence on the other end. Then they said that, word for word. "Emma." Jade's voice was different now, sharp. "You know who owns the Sterling Heights, right?" "I know. And you know your family has no idea. I know that too. So what's the plan?" I looked at the screenshot on my phone. No failures allowed. "I want them to understand they don't get to decide my worth anymore, but I don't want to humiliate them publicly. I just need them to see the truth." "How about this?" Jade said slowly. "Let them have their party. Get them settled in the ballroom, drinks flowing, everyone comfortable. Then I'll do a standard security protocol check. We do those for private events anyway, guest verification, and I'll handle it personally." "And?" And when I verify the guest list, I'll find a discrepancy. Specifically, that an immediate family member was excluded via discriminatory text message. A smile tugged at my lips for the first time in days. That would violate your venue's anti-discrimination policy. Exactly. And when I inform them that the owner disagrees with their guest list, she paused. Well, that's when things get interesting. What time should I arrive? 8 p.m. I'll make sure the staff knows. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness of my apartment for a long time, holding my phone. Tomorrow night, everything would change. My family would finally see what I'd built while they weren't looking. And for the first time in years, I felt something like peace. I woke up at 6 a.m. on October 12th. The reunion was 12 hours away, but I needed the morning to centre myself. I did my usual workout routine, 45 minutes on the treadmill, weights, stretches. Physical activity had become my therapy over the years, a way to clear my head when the family pain got too loud. By 8 a.m. I was showering, letting the hot water wash away the last remnants of doubt. Today was going to change everything. Today, they'd see. I stood in front of my closet for a long time, running my hands over the fabrics. What do you wear to the moment your family realises they've misjudged you for a decade? I chose my black Armani suit, the one I'd bought after closing the biggest deal of my career 3 years ago. It was tailored perfectly, professional but powerful, paired with simple heels and minimal jewellery. I wasn't going to their reunion to show off. I was going to show up as exactly who I'd become. In the mirror, I barely recognised myself compared to the girl who'd stood outside her parents' house at Christmas, holding gifts no one wanted. That girl had been desperate for scraps of approval. This woman didn't need anyone's permission to exist. While I was applying my makeup, subtle, professional, my phone buzzed, a text from Jade. Everything's set. Your family arrived early to decorate the ballroom. They're requesting extra champagne. Should be a fun night. I smiled and texted back, "See you at 8. As I was putting on my watch, my mind drifted back. Back to the years between that terrible Christmas and today. The years my family knew nothing about because they'd never asked. 7 years ago, I was making $32,000 a year as a front desk agent at a mid-range hotel in downtown. I lived in a shared apartment with 2 roommates, splitting a $600 a month rent 3 ways. I ate ramen more often than I'd like to admit. Every extra dollar went into savings or into night classes. I was getting my MBA online, studying until 2 a.m. after full shifts. My parents didn't know. Why would they? They never called. 5 years ago, I got promoted to assistant manager at a luxury hotel chain. My salary doubled. I moved into my own studio apartment, 800 square feet, that felt like a palace after years of sharing space. I discovered I had a gift for luxury hospitality. Understanding what high-end clients wanted before they knew themselves, I lived and breathed guest experience, studied every detail of successful hotels, learned what made the difference between good service and unforgettable service. My family didn't attend my promotion celebration. They weren't invited. 3 years ago, I made the scariest decision of my life. I quit corporate, cashed out my retirement accounts, and started my own consulting firm, Chen Hospitality Consulting. I advised struggling luxury hotels on how to improve their operations, increase their ratings, maximise their revenue per room. My first client was a boutique hotel on the verge of bankruptcy. Within 6 months, I'd turned them around. 5-star ratings, fully booked weekends, featured in travel magazines. Word spread fast in the industry. My second client was the Sterling Heights Group, a small chain of luxury hotels owned by a semi-retired CEO named Marcus Sterling. He hired me to analyse his flagship property, the Sterling Heights Hotel, the crown jewel of his portfolio. I spent 3 months embedded in that hotel. I studied every operation, every service touchpoint, every guest interaction. I created a 200-page report with recommendations that would transform the property from excellent to extraordinary. Marcus was impressed, more than impressed. Over coffee in his office, he said something I'd never forget. "Emma, I'm 68 years old. My kids don't want this business. They're in tech. I'm looking to retire, but I need someone who understands this hotel the way I do. Someone who sees it as more than just a business." "What are you saying?" I asked. "I'm saying I want to sell you the Sterling Heights, the flagship property, $18 million. I know that's a huge number, but I've seen your work. I know you could run this place better than I ever did." $18 million. I had maybe $200,000 in savings. "Give me 6 months," I said. I spent those 6 months like a woman possessed. I pitched investors, secured a bank loan, sold my car, moved into a smaller apartment, ate rice and beans for every meal. I called in every favour, every connection I'd made in 10 years of hospitality work. And I did it. Through a combination of investors, bank financing, and my own savings, I scraped together $18 million. Last March, I became the sole owner of the Sterling Heights Hotel. I didn't tell my family. Why would I? They'd made it clear they didn't care about my career. Besides, by then, I'd built a new family. Jade, my staff, the investors who'd believed in me, the industry colleagues who'd become friends. In the 6 months since I took over, I'd transformed the hotel, upgraded the rooms, retrained the staff in my guest experience philosophy, partnered with the city's best restaurants for room service. Guest satisfaction went from 87% to 98%. We were booked solid 3 months in advance. Forbes had just featured me in their 30 under 40 hospitality leaders list last month. My mother didn't know I'd been in Forbes. She'd never asked what I'd been doing for the past decade. Now, standing in my apartment at 3 p.m., 5 hours before the reunion, I looked around at the life I'd built. This wasn't the penthouse suite I could now afford. I'd kept my modest apartment because I liked the reminder of where I'd started. But everything in it was mine, earned, built from nothing while my family had written me off as a failure. I thought about Grandpa, about his words. "Success isn't what others see, it's what you build when no one's watching." I wished he could see this. See what I'd built. But maybe, somehow, he knew. At 7 p.m, I called an Uber. I could have driven, but I wanted to arrive calm. The drive to the Sterling Heights took 20 minutes through downtown, and I spent it breathing deeply, centering myself. This wasn't about revenge. I want to be clear about that. This was about boundaries. About making it clear that they didn't get to define me anymore, that their rejection, while painful, hadn't destroyed me. It had freed me to become someone they'd never imagined I could be. The Uber pulled up to the Sterling Heights at 7:47 p.m. The hotel glowed against the night sky, elegant and imposing. The valet station was busy. I recognised some of the cars as my family's: Mercedes, BMW, a Lexus that had to be Emily's. 25 members of the Chen family were inside right now, celebrating their success, their togetherness, their perfect family narrative. And they had no idea that the building they'd chosen for this celebration belonged to the family failure. I tipped the Uber driver generously and stepped onto the sidewalk. The doorman, Carlos, recognised me immediately. "Miss Chen," he said, his professional smile warming into something genuine. "Good evening." "Hi, Carlos. The Chen reunion, they already in the Sapphire Ballroom?" "Yes, Mom. Arrived about 30 minutes ago. They're quite enthusiastic." I caught the diplomatic phrasing and smiled. "I'm sure they are. Is Jade around?" "She's handling the situation personally as requested." "Perfect. I'll wait in the lobby for a bit." I walked through the grand entrance, my heels clicking on the marble floors. The Sterling Heights lobby was stunning: soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, plush seating arrangements that whispered luxury without screaming it. Every detail had been carefully considered. By me. I sat in one of the velvet chairs near the concierge desk, positioning myself where I could see the entrance to the Sapphire Ballroom. From here I could hear faint music, laughter, the clink of champagne glasses. My family was having a wonderful time in there, celebrating their success, their pride in each other, their perfect family unit. They had no idea their world was about to shift. At 7:58 p.m, Jade appeared from the hallway. She was in her general manager uniform, tailored blazer, the hotel's signature pin, clipboard in hand. She looked every inch the professional authority figure. She made eye contact with me and gave the smallest nod. It was time. I stood up, smoothed my suit jacket, and walked toward the ballroom. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. I'd earned this moment, earned the right to exist in my own space without their permission. I reached the ballroom entrance just as Jade pushed open the double doors. The music was louder now, something classical, elegant. Through the opening, I could see the Sapphire Ballroom in all its glory. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, tables draped in white linens, floral centerpieces I recognized from our premium event package. And my family, all 25 of them, dressed in cocktail attire, glasses of champagne in hand, laughing and talking in clusters. They looked happy. They looked complete. They looked like they'd never missed me at all. Jade stepped into the ballroom first, and I followed a few steps behind. The music was still playing, so most people didn't notice us immediately. But gradually, heads started to turn. Conversations faltered. Jade walked to the centre of the room. With a signal to the DJ, the music stopped. Now everyone was looking, 25 pairs of eyes swivelling to find the source of the interruption. That's when they saw me. I watched the recognition ripple through the crowd. Aunt Linda's champagne glass paused halfway to her lips. Emily's smile froze. My mother's face went pale. My father's expression shifted from confusion to something I couldn't quite read. Jade's voice, clear and professional, cut through the silence. "Good evening, everyone. I'm Jade Martinez, General Manager of the Sterling Heights Hotel. I apologize for the interruption, but we're conducting a routine security check per our guest verification protocol for private events. Aunt Linda set down her champagne glass with a sharp click against the table. "Excuse me, we paid for this venue. What's this about?" Jade's expression remained perfectly professional, the kind of calm authority that came from years of managing difficult situations. "Yes, ma'am. However, we have a policy that prohibits guests from excluding immediate family members from private events held at our property. Our records show Ms. Emma Chen was explicitly disinvited via text message last night." She raised her iPad and, with a few swipes, projected the screenshot onto the ballroom's presentation screen. There, 10 feet tall, was Aunt Linda's message. "Emma, I need to be direct. This reunion is for successful family members who've made us proud. No failures allowed. It's nothing personal. We just want to keep things positive. Hope you understand." The silence in that room was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop on the plush carpet. I watched faces around the ballroom. Some looked confused, others embarrassed. A few of my younger cousins looked genuinely shocked, as if they'd never known this was how the family treated me. Aunt Linda's face had gone from pale to crimson. That's a private family matter. It's none of your business." Jade's voice remained steady, unruffled. "Actually, Mrs. Linda Chen, it becomes our business when discriminatory exclusion occurs on our premises. The Sterling Heights Hotel has very clear policies about inclusive events. More importantly..." She turned, and for the first time, her professional mask slipped into something warmer. She looked directly at me, a small smile playing at her lips. "The owner of this hotel disagrees with your guest list." My mother stood up from her chair, her voice shaking. "The owner? What does that have to do with..." Jade gestured toward me with an open palm, like a game show host revealing a prize. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Ms. Emma Chen, founder and CEO of Chen Hospitality Group and the sole owner of the Sterling Heights Hotel." If the silence before had been absolute, this was something beyond silence. This was the sound of a worldview shattering. I watched my father's face. Watched the confusion morph into disbelief, then into something that might have been calculation, as if he was running through the math of how this could be possible. Emily spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's not possible." Jade tapped her iPad again. The screen changed to display a Forbes magazine cover from last month. There I was, professional headshot, arms crossed, standing in front of the Sterling Heights lobby. The headline read, 30 under 40. Hospitality Leaders. How Emma Chen Transformed Luxury Hotel Experiences. Ms. Chen acquired this property last year for $18 million. Jade continued, her voice carrying easily through the stunned room. She's transformed it into the highest-rated luxury hotel in the city, with a 98% guest satisfaction rate. The Sterling Heights currently has a 3-month waiting list for reservations and has been featured in Condé Nast Traveler, Travel Plus Leisure, and was recently named Hotel of the Year by the American Hospitality Association. She swiped through several more images. Articles about the hotel, my consulting firm's website, a photo from an industry award ceremony where I was shaking hands with the mayor. Daniel, my younger brother, was staring at the screen like it might disappear if he blinked. "But you were working front desk? You were..." "A failure," I said quietly. My voice was steady. calm. I'd practiced this in my head 1,000 times, though I'd never imagined it would actually happen. That's what you all thought, right? Aunt Linda's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. Emma, we didn't know. If we had known, you didn't know because I didn't tell you, I interrupted, my voice still quiet, but carrying through the ballroom. Not because you ever asked. For 10 years, you called me a failure. You uninvited me from weddings. You sat me in the back at funerals. You laughed about me at Christmas dinners I wasn't invited to. And last night, I paused, letting my eyes find Aunt Linda across the room. You told me no failures allowed. You were right about one thing, Aunt Linda. There's no room for failure here. This hotel has a 98% guest satisfaction rate. We maintain the highest standards in the industry, and we don't tolerate discrimination, not from guests, not from anyone. My mother had tears streaming down her face now. Emma, please, we're family. Family doesn't do this, Mum. My voice finally cracked just a little on that word, Mum. You made your choice years ago. Every time you didn't show up, every time you excluded me, every time you chose to believe I wasn't worth your time, those were choices. Jade stepped forward, her professional demeanour fully back in place. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you all to leave the premises. Your deposit will be refunded in full within 5 business days. Security will escort you to collect your belongings and exit the building. As if on cue, 4 security guards in crisp uniforms appeared at the ballroom entrance. They weren't aggressive, weren't threatening. They were simply present, a physical reminder that this was no longer a family dispute. This was a business decision. You can't do this, my father said, his voice hard. He'd found his footing again, the surgeon's authority coming back. We have a contract. We paid. Your contract includes a clause about adhering to venue policies, Jade said smoothly. Discriminatory exclusion violates those policies. The contract is void. Again, your deposit will be refunded. And Emily was crying now too, mascara running down her cheeks. Emma, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were... I should have. Please. I looked at my sister, the golden child, the one who'd done everything right in our parents' eyes. She looked genuinely distressed, but I couldn't find it in myself to care, not after she'd specifically requested I not attend her wedding. You should go, I said quietly. One by one, my family members began gathering their things, purses, suit jackets, the decorations they'd brought. The whole process took maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. Some of them looked angry, others looked ashamed. A few of my cousins I barely knew tried to catch my eye. Mouths opening, as if to say something, but thought better of it. Aunt Linda stopped in front of me as she headed toward the exit. Up close, I could see how much she'd aged. Or maybe I'd just never really looked at her before. I hope you're happy, she said, venom in her voice, breaking up the family like this. I didn't break up the family, Aunt Linda. You never let me be part of it in the first place. She flinched like I'd slapped her, then hurried toward the exit where Uncle Tom was waiting. My mother was the last to leave. She stood by the door, looking back at me with red-rimmed eyes. Please call me, she whispered. Please, we need to talk about this. I didn't respond. After a moment, she turned and left. Then it was just me and Jade in the Sapphire Ballroom, surrounded by abandoned champagne glasses and half-eaten appetizers. "You okay?" Jade asked softly. I let out a long breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Yeah, I think I am. That was intense. That was necessary. I looked around the beautiful ballroom at the life I'd built that they'd never seen. "Thank you for backing me up." "Always," Jade said. "That's what friends do. Now come on, let's get out of this ballroom. It smells like regret and expensive perfume." I laughed, surprising myself. We walked out together, leaving the staff to clean up the remnants of a family reunion that had imploded in spectacular fashion. That night, I sat in my apartment, the modest one I'd kept, despite now being able to afford much more, and waited for my phone to explode. It didn't take long. The family group chat lit up around 11 p.m. Aunt Linda. "I can't believe what happened tonight. Emma, that was cruel." Cousin Sarah. "Wait, what happened? Why are there like 50 missed messages?" Uncle Tom. "Emma owns the Sterling Heights. She kicked us out." Cousin Sarah. "What?" Emily. "Emma, please, can we talk? I had no idea you were doing so well. I'm proud of you." Daniel. "This is insane. How did we not know about any of this?" Aunt Linda. "Because she never told us. Just let us all think she was struggling while she was apparently building an empire. Very mature." I watched the messages scroll by. Watched them try to make sense of what had happened. Some were apologetic, others were defensive. A few were angry that I'd humiliated them. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I opened my messages and typed a new text to the group. "I'm removing myself from this chat. If there's a family emergency, someone can email me. Otherwise, I need space. Don't try to contact me." Then I left the group chat. My phone started ringing immediately. Mum, then Dad, then Emily, then Aunt Linda. I let them all go to voicemail. 3 days passed. 3 days of voicemails piling up, of text messages from individual family members that I didn't read. I went to work, managed the hotel, met with my consulting clients. Life continued. On the 4th day, I finally listened to the voicemails. Mum's voice, shaky with tears. "Sweetheart, please, I know I've failed you. I know that now. But you're my daughter. Please don't shut us out completely. Call me back. Please." Dad's voice, formal and controlled. "Emma, your mother is very upset. We need to discuss what happened. This whole situation got out of hand. Call me when you're ready to have a rational conversation." Emily's voice, desperate. "I'm so sorry. I should have known. I should have asked. You're my sister, and God, I've been such a jerk. Please talk to me." There were more. Aunt Linda's was defensive, blaming me for making a scene. Daniel's was confused, asking why I'd never mentioned any of this. Various cousins expressing shock, apology, anger. I deleted them all. 1 week after the reunion, my father called at 7 a.m. I was at the gym, mid-workout, but something made me answer. "Emma." His voice was tight, controlled. "Your mother is devastated. The whole family is talking about what happened. You didn't have to humiliate us like that." I paused my treadmill. "Dad, I didn't humiliate you. I enforced a boundary by kicking us out of a hotel, by making a public spectacle." "You made a public spectacle the moment Aunt Linda sent that text. You made a spectacle every time you excluded me from family events. I just made sure you understood the consequences." "We made mistakes," he said, and I could hear him struggling with the admission. My father didn't do apologies. "But that doesn't justify—" "For 10 years, I tried to make you proud," I interrupted. The words were coming faster now. years of suppressed emotion finding their voice. I graduated with honours. You didn't come. You were at Emily's hospital event. I got promoted. You never asked about my job. I started a business. You didn't know because you never called. I bought a hotel. Again, you didn't know because you never cared to know. Silence on the other end. You taught me that love is conditional, Dad. That I'm only worthy if I follow your path, achieve your version of success. So I stopped trying to earn something you'd never give. I built my own definition of success. And you know what? It worked. I'm happy. I'm successful by any standard, and I did it without you. We just want our daughter back, he said quietly. You never wanted me, Dad. You wanted a version of me that doesn't exist. You wanted another Emily, another doctor, another reflection of your choices. The real me, the one who loves hospitality and creating experiences for people. That Emma was never good enough for you, Assad. That's not... It is true, and we both know it. You're not calling because you miss me. You're calling because you're embarrassed. Because now people know that the family failure is actually successful, and that makes you look bad. More silence. Then, that's unfair. Is it? Then tell me, Dad, when was the last time you asked about my life? Before you found out about the hotel? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. I have to go. I have a business to run. I hung up. 2 weeks after the reunion, my mother showed up at the Sterling Heights. I was in the lobby reviewing some renovation plans with my head of operations when I saw her. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. She was carrying a bag from the bakery we used to go to when I was little, the one that made lemon scones. Emma, she said when she saw me. I excused myself from the meeting and led her to my office. Not the small manager's office, but my actual office. The penthouse suite I converted into a workspace, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the entire city, custom furniture I'd selected myself. I watched her take it all in, watched her see the success I'd built. I brought your favourite, she said, setting the bag on my desk. Lemon scones. Thank you. I didn't open the bag. She sat down in one of the chairs facing my desk. I stayed standing, a subtle power dynamic I was very aware of. I've been thinking a lot, she began, about how we treated you, about the choices your father and I made. Emma, we were wrong. I waited. Didn't make it easy for her. We pushed you away because you didn't fit the life we'd planned. We had this vision. All our children would be in medicine, would follow in our footsteps. When you chose hospitality, it felt like rejection. Like you were saying our lives weren't good enough. That was never what I was saying. I know that now, but at the time, she wiped her eyes. We were so focused on our own disappointment that we couldn't see what you were building. And that's on us. That's on me. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. I'm your mother, Emma. I should have supported you, no matter what path you chose. I should have been there for your graduation, your promotions, your successes. I should have called. I should have asked. I should have loved you unconditionally, and I didn't. And I am so, so sorry. It was the apology I'd wanted for years, the acknowledgement I'd craved. But hearing it now in this office I'd earned, it felt hollow. Mum, I appreciate you coming here, I do, but I can't just accept an apology and move on like nothing happened. I'm not asking you to. I know it will take time. No, you don't understand. I finally sat down across from her. You're sorry because I succeeded in a way you can finally respect. But what if I hadn't? What if I was still a front desk agent, making $30,000 a year, living in a studio apartment? Would you be here? She opened her mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. You're not sorry for how you treated me. You're sorry that you were wrong about me. There's a difference. Emma, that's not fair. Mum, I spent years thinking I wasn't enough. Years believing there was something wrong with me because my own family didn't want me around. Do you know what that does to a person? Do you know how many times I cried myself to sleep, wondering why I couldn't make you love me? She was sobbing now. I did love you. I do love you. You loved the idea of who you wanted me to be, but you never loved who I actually am. And that's the problem. That's always been the problem. So what do we do? She asked, her voice breaking. How do we fix this? I looked at my mother, this woman who'd given birth to me but had never really seen me, and felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of understanding. I don't know if we can fix it, Mom. I don't know if I want to try. You're cutting us off forever? I'm not cutting you off. I'm choosing peace. I spent 3 decades seeking your approval, your love, your acknowledgement. It almost destroyed me. I'm finally at a place where I don't need those things anymore. Where I know my worth isn't determined by whether you're proud of me. But I am proud of you, she insisted, seeing what you've built, what you've accomplished. Again, Mom, you're proud of what I accomplished, not who I am. And until you can separate those things, until you can love me, even if I'd stayed a front desk agent forever, we don't have a foundation to build on. She sat there, crying silently. I felt bad for her in a distant way. But I felt worse for the girl I'd been, desperate for this woman's love. If you want a relationship with me, I continued, we start from 0. No expectations, no comparisons to Emily or Daniel, no comments about my career or my choices, just respect. Can you do that? I can try, she whispered. Trying isn't enough anymore. I need to know you can actually do it. So I'm asking you to give me space, real space, 6 months. No calls, no texts, no showing up at my hotel. Use that time to really think about whether you can accept me as I am, not as who you wanted me to be. 6 months? Emma, that's what I need, Mom. And if you actually love me, you'll respect that. She gathered her purse, moved slowly toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back. I do love you, Emma. I know I haven't shown it well, but I do. Then prove it. Give me the space I'm asking for. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, looking out over the city. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. But underneath the exhaustion was something else, a sense of clarity I'd never had before. I'd finally said the things I needed to say, set the boundaries I needed to set. Whatever happened next was up to them. 6 months passed, 6 months of silence from my family, which was exactly what I'd asked for. In that time, I threw myself into work, expanded my consulting business, opened a second Sterling Heights location in a neighbouring city, got featured in another magazine spread, but I also did something else, something I'd never let myself do before. I built a real family. Thanksgiving arrived, and instead of spending it alone or dreading an invitation that would never come, I hosted dinner in the penthouse suite of my hotel. 20 people came, Jade and her husband, my head of operations and his kids, several staff members who'd become genuine friends, my therapist, who'd been instrumental in helping me process everything, and a few investors who'd become mentors. We cooked together, laughed together, shared what we were grateful for. When it was my turn, I looked around the table at these people who'd chosen to be in my life, who showed up not out of obligation but genuine care. "I'm grateful for all of you," I said simply, "for proving that family isn't just about blood, it's about showing up." Jade raised her glass. "To found family, the people who choose you, not because they have to, but because they want to." Everyone drank to that. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and I was cleaning up with Jade, she asked, "Have you heard from them at all?" "No, they respected my boundary, actually. I was surprised." 6 months is almost up." "I know. What are you going to do?" I looked around at the remnants of the feast we'd shared, the warmth that still lingered in the room. "I don't know, but I know I'm okay either way. That's what matters." A week later, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter. Forwarded from my old apartment address. The return address was from the law office handling my grandfather's estate. Inside was a sealed envelope with my name written in my grandfather's handwriting. My hands were shaking as I opened it. "My dearest Emma," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I won't be there to see what you become, but I already know it will be extraordinary." I had to stop reading for a moment, tears blurring the words. "I've watched you for 32 years, Emma. Watched you try so hard to fit into a mould that was never made for you. Watched your parents' disapproval chip away at your confidence. It broke my heart every time. But I also watched you persist. Watched you build something beautiful out of rejection. Watched you become stronger, kinder, more resilient than any of us had the right to expect. By the time you read this, you'll have made choices about your relationship with the family. Whatever you decided, I support you. Know this, you don't need their approval to be extraordinary. You already are. I've left you something in my will, not money, but my old journal. Inside, you'll find letters I wrote, but never sent to your parents, trying to make them see what they were missing. Maybe they'll mean something to you. Maybe they won't. Either way, know that someone saw you, Emma. Someone was proud of you every single day. Keep building your life on your terms. Keep choosing yourself. That's not selfishness. That's survival. All my love, Grandpa. I sat in my office, crying in a way I hadn't let myself cry in years. Not sad tears exactly, something more complicated, grief for what I'd lost, but also gratitude for being seen, even if only by one person. A month later, December, I got a call from my mother. It had been exactly 6 months. "Emma," she said when I answered, "I know it's been 6 months. I wanted to respect your boundary, but I was hoping we could talk." "Okay. Could I take you to lunch, somewhere neutral?" We met at a small cafe downtown, the kind of place where neither of us had history. Mum looked different, tired, but also somehow lighter, like she'd been carrying something heavy and had finally set it down. "Thank you for meeting me," she said once we'd ordered. "You respected my boundary. That means something. It was hard, not reaching out, but I used the time like you suggested. I've been in therapy." That surprised me. "Really?" "Yes. I needed to understand why I treated you the way I did, why I couldn't accept your choices. There's a lot there: generational trauma, my own parents' expectations, fear of judgment from our community. None of it excuses what I did, but it helps explain it. I stirred my coffee, waiting for her to continue. I realized something, Emma. I didn't just fail you, I failed myself. I spent so much of my life trying to meet other people's expectations that I passed that same prison onto you. I wanted you to be a doctor not because I thought it was best for you, but because I thought it would reflect well on me. That's shameful. Yes, I said quietly. It is. She flinched but didn't look away. I can't undo the past. I can't give you back the graduations I missed or the support I should have given. But I can try to do better going forward if you'll let me. What does that look like to you? It looks like me accepting you as you are. It looks like me showing up, really showing up without conditions. It looks like me being proud of you, not because of what you've accomplished, but because you're my daughter and you're kind and resilient and remarkable. Even if you'd never owned a hotel, even if you'd stayed a front desk agent, you'd still be remarkable. I should have seen that. I felt something crack open in my chest. Not forgiveness, not quite, but possibility. I need you to understand something, Mum. I'm not the same person I was before. The Emma who would have accepted scraps of your approval is gone. I've built a life I'm proud of with people who value me. If you want to be part of that life, you have to accept it on my terms. I understand. Which means no comments about when I'm going to get married, no comparisons to Emily's success, no trying to fix me or change me or mould me into someone more acceptable to your friends. Just acceptance. Can you do that? She met my eyes. Yes, I can do that. Prove it, I said. Don't tell me. Show me, over time, consistently. We can start small, coffee once a month maybe. No family gatherings yet, no pressure. Just us rebuilding trust. Once a month, she agreed. Emma, I know I don't deserve another chance. You're right, you don't. But I'm giving you one anyway. Not for you, for me. Because I want to see if it's possible for us to have a real relationship. But the moment you slip back into old patterns, I'm done. For good this time. Do you understand? I understand. We finished our coffee in slightly awkward silence, but it wasn't the hostile silence of before. It was the silence of two people trying to find their way back to each other after years of distance. As I walked back to my hotel that afternoon, I thought about Grandpa's letter, about his words. Keep choosing yourself. That's not selfishness, that's survival. I'd survived, more than survived, I'd thrived, and now maybe I could afford to be generous. Not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace, whatever form that took. That night, I stood in my office at the Sterling Heights, the city lights spread out below me like a constellation. I thought about the girl who'd stood outside her parents' house at Christmas, holding unwanted gifts. I thought about the woman who'd sat alone at her own graduation. I thought about every moment of rejection, every instance of being made to feel less than. And then I thought about everything I'd built in spite of it all. This hotel, my business, my found family, my self-respect. I pulled out my phone and recorded a video, something I sometimes did to process my thoughts. If you're watching this and you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I want you to know something. Their inability to see your worth doesn't make you worthless. It just means they're looking at the wrong scoreboard. I paused, choosing my words carefully. I spent 3 decades trying to earn love from people who couldn't give it. And you know what I learned? Some people are so invested in their own narrative that they can't see the truth standing right in front of them. That's their limitation, not yours. Walking away from toxic family isn't cruelty, it's survival. It's choosing yourself when no one else will, and sometimes that's the bravest thing you can do. I looked directly into the camera. I'm not here to tell you to cut off your family or keep trying with them. That's your choice, and only you know what's right for you. But I am here to tell you this: you are not a failure. You're not less than. You're not unworthy of love. You're just playing a different game than they expected you to play. And sometimes that's exactly where you're meant to win. I ended the recording and looked at it for a moment. Then I posted it to my professional social media, the platforms where I shared industry insights and business advice. Within an hour, the comments started rolling in. I needed to hear this today. My parents still haven't forgiven me for not going to law school. Thank you for sharing this. I've been in no contact with my family for 2 years and still feel guilty. This helped. Your story gave me the courage to set boundaries with my toxic mother. Thank you. Hundreds of them, thousands eventually. People who'd felt invisible in their own families. People who'd been called failures for choosing their own paths. People who needed permission to choose themselves. I read through them late into the night, responding to as many as I could. And I realized something. My family's rejection, as painful as it had been, had given me something valuable. Empathy, understanding, the ability to see others who felt unseen. Maybe that was the gift in all of this. Not the hotel or the success or the validation, but the capacity to help others feel less alone in their own family pain. 2 years later, I stood in the same ballroom where my family had been escorted out. But this time, it was filled with people from the hospitality industry, investors, mentors, and my found family. We were celebrating the opening of my 5th Sterling Heights location. My mother was there. We'd rebuilt our relationship slowly, coffee by coffee, honest conversation by honest conversation. She'd kept her word, no comparisons, no judgments, just acceptance. Emily was there too. We'd found our way to something resembling sisterhood, though it would never be what it could have been if they'd valued me from the start. My father hadn't come. We'd tried a few conversations, but he couldn't let go of his need to be right. Some relationships couldn't be salvaged, and I'd made peace with that. Aunt Linda wasn't invited. Some bridges, once burned, stayed ashes. As I stood at the podium to give my speech, I looked out at the crowd and felt something I'd never experienced in a family setting before: belonging. 5 years ago, I began. I was uninvited from a family event in this very ballroom. Someone told me there was no room for failures. At the gathering, they were right about one thing: there is no room for failure at the Sterling Heights. But not because we exclude people who struggle, because we believe in supporting people until they succeed. I paused, making eye contact with faces in the crowd. This hotel, this company, this family of employees and partners, we built all of this on a simple principle. Everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves to be valued for who they are, not who someone else wants them to be. And everyone deserves a place where they belong. The applause was thunderous. After the speeches, after the champagne and congratulations, I found myself alone in the ballroom for a moment. Jade found me there. "You good?" she asked, the same question she'd asked 2 years ago in this exact spot. "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. "Yeah, I'm really good." "Your mum looked proud tonight." She was. It's strange having that now, after years of not having it. Better late than never? Maybe. Or maybe it's just better to know I don't need it anymore. Having it is nice, but my worth isn't tied to it. Jade smiled. "Look at you, all emotionally healthy," I laughed. "Therapy is a hell of a thing." As we walked out of the ballroom together, I thought about that girl who'd been told no failures allowed. I thought about how those words had felt like a death sentence at the time. But that girl had taken those words and transformed them into something else entirely. Not a rejection, but a challenge. A reason to build something so undeniable that no one could ignore it. She'd built a hotel, a business, a life, a family of choice. And in doing so, she'd proved something important. Success isn't about meeting other people's expectations. It's about exceeding your own. I never did answer my aunt's text from that night 2 years ago, but if I could go back, I know exactly what I'd say. "You're right, Aunt Linda. No failures allowed. Good thing I've never been one." For anyone still trying to earn love from people who won't give it, your worth isn't determined by their inability to see it. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep choosing yourself. The right people will see you, and you'll build something beautiful in the process, I promise.